doing Mardi Gras. This year's floats, the 4 brand new floats, represent cultures from around the world and their celebrations. Like the Chinese New Year float, right now, people all over the world are celebrating Chinese New Year right now, the year of the snake. This float is a wonderful representation of just the culture. The one great thing that I love about this float is the movement. All of these lanterns and pieces of fabric, as the parade floats are going down the street, all of that moves. And I don't know if you can see on the Chinese float behind me, there is a hidden special little monkey that our designers decided to put into the design of the Chinese float. I found him the other day and thought he was just adorable. I was like, what is that? And they're like, oh, that's something we did just for us. So this is the Chinese New Year float. We are also celebrating the elegance of India. Beautiful, gorgeous, lots of glitter on that float. Celebrating the Day of the Dead. We can walk down towards it. It's got pyrotechnics on the Day of the Dead float. Again, just all the beautiful color and sparkle on this float. We also feature a float rider on this float. She's a beautiful Bollywood-like dancer. And here we have the Day of the Dead float. One of the cool features that I think is really cool on this float are these panels right here that are backlit to make it look very, very neon, very indigo, which is something very different than what we've ever done in Mardi Gras before. Again, on this float, we have flame effects that shoot up really high over everyone's head. And all of these candles flicker. Is there a monkey on this one? No monkeys on the Day of the Dead float. No little. And then, of course, our last new float for this year is kind of a rethinking of New Orleans and what they celebrate in New Orleans, along with Mardi Gras. They also celebrate jazz. They celebrate food. They celebrate everything music that you can think of. So they've redesigned and redeveloped our New Orleans float, keeping some of the traditional things that we love, like the story. Again, one of my favorite features are these backlit musicians you see through the windows. If you have any questions for me, come on, I'm kind of wealth of information.
So the Day of the Dead floats, are we going to see them again in 6 months?
I don't think so.
And no connection whatsoever, no inspiration from the...
No, I think this was just a whole different idea than what that was at Halloween.
How many new floats we have this year and how many repeats?
4 brand new design floats, and there are a total of about, 8 repeats? There's 12 floats. Yeah, 12 floats altogether. The riverboat and the gator are back. They're our biggest bead givers, right? We have like tons and tons of people on there, so they throw tons and tons of beads. We have back returning with us the rainforest, the bayou float, the deep sea float, and then of course our tidal float, which we have every year. We have our jester float, the king and queen float.
This is based on Mardi Gras in New Orleans, which is an adult celebration. How do you guys keep that in check here, especially with the t-shirts?
We make it very family friendly. One, with the lineup. We have a lot of younger artists in our lineup this year with Demi Lovato and Philip Phillips and things like that. But also we have special kid zones, little kids areas, so that families can sign up to make sure their kids get in those special areas so the kids grab the most beads and the most booty that they can grab. We also tell our float riders that make sure they look out for those kid zones and really, really throw in those areas so that the kids walk away with more beads than the adults do in some cases.
How many performers do you have this year?
There's about 88. A lot of stilt walkers. We like to put people up on stilts in this parade so that people can see beyond the crowds, you know, the one person in front when they stand along the side of the street so people can see the entertainment.
So how do you guys decide who's going to play? Is it that based on keeping it family friendly, or?
It's based on what's popular, what's available, of course, keeping it family friendly, knowing what's in town, what's happening around the Central Florida area kind of helps us to figure out who we're going to invite to play here.
How have you had to adjust the parade this year to accommodate for all the construction?
It really hasn't been that much of adjustment. We're running this exactly like Macy's ran this year and exactly like the Superstar Parade ran. So basically there hasn't been a lot of adjustment to it. For our guests, there may be some slight adjustment for them seeing it come the same way the other parades came, but really it hasn't been that big of adjustment for us. It's pretty easy.
How exactly do you guys go about reinventing this every year to make it fresh?
We love it. That's the one thing that, we as show directors and the production part of entertainment, we get to do that with all the projects. And Mardi Gras is one that we get to start from, the bare bones of the chassis and get to use the creativity that we have to build up these spectacular, enormous floats. Has anyone seen the New Orleans band in the food court yet? They're amazing. We bring all those bands straight from New Orleans. So all those bands are local New Orleans bands that maybe don't have the popularity of some of the bigger bands. And we have a lineup of like 30-some bands that are coming to play for us in the food court. Amazing talent.
And look at the costume design for the floats this year.
The costume design was done by David Nadolski. Yes.
Some of the most colorful floats we've seen. How do you guys decide upon these themes?
Really, it's our inspiration, and inspiration comes from anywhere. From what we've done as people. From what we see and read about. Our inspirations come from many, many different places. We travel to New Orleans every year because we work very closely with Blaine Kern's artist that produces the actual Mardi Gras in New Orleans, and we get to travel to New Orleans and go into their dens and see just what they have, and that inspires us too. Maybe they'll have these, like they had existing, these large skeletons with the sugar skulls for Day of the Dead. That inspired us to do the Day of the Dead float, kind of recreate what they already had existing.
So any bands you want to see that we haven't seen yet?
Any bands? Me personally, I'm excited about Steve Miller, but that just kind of tells you my age. Anything else?